Thank you very much for staying tuned to the program Healthy Living on ITV. I'm at Desowa Osa Uwagia once again. So let me quickly introduce my doctors to you. I did say that we're expecting them. I have Dr. Omokwa Harrison. He's the Deputy Chairman, Edo State NMA. It's nice to have you join us today, Doctor. And then the PRO, Dr. Eustace Osegali. Yeah. So how are you today?
Very fine.
It's nice to have you join us today. So it's still the coronavirus pandemic that we are talking about. It is no news that it is ravaging the whole world. And in Nigeria, so far we have 627. It's hard to believe that from an index case, we are rising so fast to 627, even with all the measures put in place. And people are beginning to wonder, all these measures, are they effective? Are they just there for political reasons? Are they there to safeguard Nigerians? Dr. Harrison.
Well, let me say this. Have people ever wondered what would have probably be the case if these measures were not in place?
Okay.
Because it is not fair to say that the measures are not achieving the purpose for which they were set out, just because the numbers are increasing. Because if you understand the way the virus operates, you understand that from an index, contact with index, and then you go into community spread. And just now, what we are witnessing is community spread. And once there's community spread, the number goes into a geometric kind of progression, increase. And that's what we are witnessing now. But that is not to say that all those who have been involved in containing this pandemic have not tried. Both government, both the health officials, the healthcare workers, they have put in, and even the citizens, to a very large extent, some have obeyed the directives from both federal government and the state government, although we know that a majority of them still have not. And we'll continue to try, and I hope that the number will not. But let me be honest here. I strongly believe the number will still increase, but that doesn't mean that the measures are not achieving the purpose they are.
The numbers will still increase. Yes. Why would the numbers increase if we're achieving the purpose by these measures?
Because just now the federal government and the state government, they have increased the test centers, the diagnostic centers. So what that means is that more people will now be tested, and that will naturally shoot up the number, will increase the number of positive cases.
Okay, while you were talking, you talked about the nature of coronavirus. Can you just educate us a bit on the nature of coronavirus? Because some of us don't seem to understand the nature of coronavirus. A lot of persons joke about it. I've seen people like, let me sneeze, let me cough, that kind of a thing. People still joke about it. Now, Dr. Harrison, you can answer that before we go to Dr.
Yes. Now, viruses, like were taught, even in the elementary, secondary school, biology or integrated, you understand that the most problematic nature with viruses is the fact that they can change their mode of action anytime. They possess both living and non-living features.
Is this one living or non-living? The coronavirus that we're talking about?
It has both features. That is why you find out that it requires a vehicle, a form of vehicle, to move from one person to another, even sometimes from person to animals, or from animals to human beings, as the case may be. It cannot on its own move. It can't fly. So it moves from people to people. And of course, when it gets into the host and the carrier, it begins to have that power. Let me use that word. And it begins to have that ability to replicate, to multiply in number. It goes in millions. And that is why it has that virulence, that power to be able to destroy someone within a very short period of time. So people should understand that for even the Western world, for them to be so serious, I don't want to use the word scared, because that is one aspect of this pandemic that I believe that we seriously need to overcome. So for them to take this seriously, it shows you that even the greatest of scientists, to show you that this is not a virus that we should joke with. And so we must take all the measures, all the directives.
Okay, everybody is using face masks. Dr. Eustace, let me come to you. Even on my way to work, people will just bring face masks to your car, buy. And I'm beginning to wonder, because I have made a little research, and I've also heard some doctors talk about the face masks, that you can actually contact this virus if you are not careful with the way you handle the face mask. But you see people on the street, those who do not even have an idea of what is happening. They just know that there's coronavirus. They also just know that the governments have ordered that everybody must use face masks in public places. And so you see people with face masks, all different colors, different sizes, different shapes, and you keep wondering, is this the recommended face masks that we've been asked to use by the WHO? That's one question. And the other one is the handling of the face masks. Will it not like compound our problems? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. First of all, when I see a lot of people with face masks, I'm happy. Reason being that it shows that anybody you see wearing a face mask or selling a face mask, it means that the person is aware that there's something called coronavirus out there, and that a face mask can be protective. How it's used is a different thing, but it shows that there's been some
there's an awareness.
There's an awareness. So such a person who wears a face mask, we'll discuss whether he wears it correctly or incorrectly, but he has a baseline precaution. So he's not such a hazard to everybody. Yes, on the use of face mask, first of all, there's the appropriate face mask. There are ways you can tell if this face mask is adequate, because the essence of the face mask is to filter the virus, so the virus do not enter your respiratory passages, either through the nose or through the mouth, where it can get harmful when it starts to stay in a living host. So if somebody is wearing a face mask like I'm wearing now, and you put it across over your nose and your mouth, and you blow air, the air you blow, you should not be able to go through,
pass through the mask.
Yes. Some people say you can use a lighter, you can light a lighter and try and blow air to quench it. Yes, that is the same mechanism. If you blow air, you feel the air. If you blow air, you feel the air. You know that face mask is not protective. But some other people have said it's a big virus. The virus is a big virus.
Big.
Some people even feel that whatever cloth you wear should be able to stop it, because it's a big virus, but it's a new disease. A lot of research is ongoing. But the first thing is better he wears something than he wears nothing at all. There is the appropriate type of face mask to wear, like I just mentioned. Air should not be able to go through it when you have it on. You notice the controversy initially between WHO and Trump about need for face masks and no need for face masks. About need for face mask and no need for face mask. So a lot of research is still ongoing, whether the normal cloth face mask is protective enough, or whether it's not protective enough. But the appropriate face mask, when you blow air through it, air should not go through it. That's the appropriate face mask. So if you are coming in contact with somebody who is coughing, or you are a health care worker treating and no patient, you should not be seen wearing cloths. For people who run maternity homes, even some chemists treat patients, which is very wrong. For people doing all of that, the least they can have on is an appropriate face mask. If you have a relative coughing and you are taking the relative to the hospital, the least you can have on is an appropriate face mask, because you are then already at risk, because you are dealing with a sick person. Even for the average policeman who is stopping everybody on the way and saying, show your particulars, or should you be out now, he's meeting all sorts of people. Such a policeman or such a law enforcement agent should have at least on the ideal face mask, because he's at risk. I don't know whether you followed up the story in Detroit, in America. There was a bus driver, a public bus driver, who kept complaining that people were coughing and sneezing in his bus. He uploaded the video on YouTube and Facebook that people were coughing and sneezing in his bus. About 2 weeks later, he had coronavirus. About 4 weeks later, this bus driver died. So if you are going to be in contact with the general public, you are going to be in contact with sick people, the least you can have on, don't be part of the controversy. Is this there? Can this is the appropriate, is it just the appropriate I should get the appropriate face mask, get the appropriate protection, because you're already at risk. For example, I'm a doctor, I won't settle for less.
Okay.
When I see patients, I won't get on the N95 mask.
Okay, talking about seeing patients.
Then sorry, there's
Okay, go
something I
ahead.
must mention, so it doesn't escape me. Then another thing that is very key is the way we wear the face mask. You see some people who wear the face mask. The face mask actually, if it's useful, should pick the virus and trap it on the surface. So after using your face mask, you use your own hands to put it inside your own pockets and clean your face or take a car. Then what was the use of wearing the face mask all along? So you should not pick the face mask with your hand like this in front. You should discard it like this.
From the ear.
Yes, you discard it appropriately, because if it was of any use to you in the first place, then you shouldn't handle it inappropriately.
Okay, so I hope that message will sink into some people's heads this afternoon, because I've seen quite a number of persons. I think I made a mistake too. You wear fixed mask and then you want to remove it, just pull it down from the front like that instead of going from the ear. So once you use, you dispose.
Yeah.
But we've been told that the cloth face mask can be rewashed. So I'm still not comfortable with that one.
Yeah, yeah, for the people that use the cloth face mask, like in Czech Republic, they say one of the things that curtailed the spread of the coronavirus was the widespread use of face masks. There are a lot of theories, here and there, and a lot of research ongoing. But I don't have anything personally. I encourage the use of face masks, but a big cloth face mask. For the cloth face mask, they can get jig and wash it again. And reuse it. Get some around 5, soak it in jig, wash it at 7. In the morning, you can even iron it and get going again.
Okay, there's this video that
But again, our tailors can be trained. I think the state government should do something about this, on how to make appropriate face masks, even with cloth and low resource. I saw something.
We were made to understand that the one from Igbenedion University is quite appropriate.
Which is very commendable.
One of the doctors commented, and I think we will have to get in contact with those that made that face mask. Yes, because we've been told that is okay. Now there's this video and story that went viral on social media where a man took his 35-year-old wife to the hospital who's been having like some cardiovascular problems, and she was refused to be attended to in the hospital for fear of coronavirus. Now, how do we draw that boundary between somebody who has got coronavirus and a patient who is just sick from whatever ailment other than coronavirus? How do we draw that line so that people don't just die unnecessarily? Because the woman was said to have died after 3 hours of waiting without any medical attention. Doctors were running away. Somewhere in Enugu.
Okay. Okay.
In a government hospital in Enugu.
Yes, I think I heard about that.
Because when I saw that story, I really got scared.
I think Parkland or so, Enugu Hospital.
Yes.
Now, first, let's look at this and be very dispassionate in talking about cases like, because it's very easy for you to accuse the health worker of not performing his or her duty as at when due. But don't forget that this pandemic, this virus does not recognize who a health worker is or not, or a patient. And if you observe, I don't think there's any hospital, public or private, where there have been complete shutdown of services to the public in terms of health service. No, the health workers, they are still attending to patients. For that particular case in mind, I do not know, but I wasn't there. I don't know what really transpired. But from the question you asked, how do you recognize? It's difficult to say this patient is COVID-19 positive or not, because we know, it's a novel virus.
It's very novel.
And that is why up till now, you still have so many theories being propagated by different groups from different countries, because different people, different scientists, different researchers, they see the virus from different angles, and of course they try to say their own, propagate their own theories, because it's novel, it keeps changing. What you thought was about this virus today may actually change. So if you understand the fact that there are carriers who are not symptomatic.
Yeah.
You know, World Health Organization have told us that even from our own reading, you find that over 80% of persons may have it and yet do not show any symptoms. That you are not showing symptoms doesn't mean that you cannot spread the disease. So therefore, what it means is that for the health workers, at this point in time, it is the baseline is that you should have the appropriate personal protective equipment to wear. Appropriate. You know, there are different grades of PPE, but
So just
something
the appropriate
that should be enough, adequate to safeguard you, because at this time you assume that the next patient could be just a COVID patient.
At least at this point, every person that comes to the hospital,
yes, who is not manifesting. So there should be a high level of suspicion. Index of suspicion will be very high for anybody. So it does not, and that is why we say federal government, state government, you need to provide these necessary PPE for the health workers.
Should patients be neglected?
No patient. I do not think any health worker will purposely. The health workers, they are also family members. They have family members. They are family members. They belong to different families and the rest of them. Yeah. So if they do not, for instance, they are not provided with adequate PPE, especially at times like this, even when ordinarily there was no pandemic, we advise that you protect yourself. But then you could make do what is available. This cannot be at this time.
You cannot manage.
If the health workers continue to suffer this disease, who will be left to even treat ordinary ailments that is not pandemic for the general public?
Okay, Dr. Eustace, let me ask you this question before we open our lines. Meanwhile, the number to call is 052-290-573. 052-290-573. Call in and ask all the questions you need to ask about this virus that is ravaging the world, the coronavirus. Ask questions, everything you need to know. Gray areas, just ask questions so that doctors will give you an answer. Let's look at the issue of those that have been discharged. Any need to be afraid? Because we have so many of them now. Some have been discharged from Lagos. In Edo, we have 6 already discharged patients. Is there any way they can come down with this virus again?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of research and studies are still ongoing about the virus. On the virus, we've seen people that were previously negative, they later tested positive. A lot of studies ongoing. Initially, it was felt that once somebody has the virus, he becomes immune. That thought is beginning to change. Somebody that got infected, became negative, can get reinfected. That's the current thinking. But a lot of research is still ongoing. So it's not as if somebody gets infected, it just goes to, and gets negative, it just goes to play. No, a lot of studies are still ongoing. There's a possibility that a person that got infected, was treated, got negative, can still be reinfected. Because first of all, it's a virus, like the deputy chairman earlier mentioned, it cannot survive outside a living host. When it's in a living host, it replicates. Then a virus usually has its own lifetime. It burns out on its own. So that does not stop somebody, because we don't even treat it. First of all, there's no specific treatment for coronavirus. It's symptomatic care. That's why you see some people, they have the coronavirus. The thing burns out. They never become symptomatic. It's never treated. Whereas the people that are ill, they have respiratory issues, those are treated. Anything they have, if they're having catarrh, they're having headache, you treat a particular symptom they're having. So you really do not treat the virus. So that sort of person may get infected again. Though this is still subject to a lot of research. A lot of research is ongoing. There's the talk about herd immunity. There's the talk about somebody who has been infected before being immune to a reinfection. But for now, what I subscribe to is, let all of us play safe. As a doctor, I treat every patient as if the patient has coronavirus. Interestingly, Coronavirus is much talked about because it affects everybody.
Everybody.
There is still Ebola virus, which is still there. Ebola virus is not, has not disappeared. The Lassa fever, which is still there, Lassa fever has not disappeared. Why these were not so talked about was that these were mostly health workers that were the targets. Ebola has killed several doctors and nurses. Lassa fever, the same thing. But coronavirus is not just doctors. Some doctors have died from it, but the general public. So there's much more interest. So as a doctor, as a health worker, the first thing is universal precaution. Treat every patient as if this patient may have Ebola virus, as if this patient may have Lassa fever, as if this patient may have coronavirus. And now, because there's a pandemic out there, I also tell everybody, treat every neighbor. Treat everybody. Treat your neighbor's child as if he has coronavirus. Don't let your child start mingling. There was a primary school I went to some time ago, about 2 years ago. One child was helping another child clean kata.
Okay.
And the one mother was frightened. The another mother told the mother, I beg, leave them. Do you know what happens when you are not here? That sort of thing. That's why I'm happy the state government closed down schools for now. Let's resolve all of this. School can reopen because a lot of things happen in those schools.
Yeah.
So let your child treat your neighbor's child as if he has coronavirus. Let your neighbor's child treat your child. There's no need for overmingling. All those birthday parties, crowding, there's no need for it now. Let's just treat all of us. My deputy chairman and myself, we treat ourselves as if we both have coronavirus. We are suspicious of each other. We don't hug each other. We don't come close to each other. We stay apart. If our hands mistakenly touch, we take our sanitizers. So we should all treat ourselves like that for now until we now hear that in Edo State, there's no more positive case. In Nigeria, there's no more positive case.
Okay, like these patients that have been discharged, should they be allowed into the society freely?
Okay, that's a very good question. Yes, they should be allowed into the society freely, transact their business, because first of all, some of them have come out negative. They no longer have symptoms. So we should treat them, you treat them just the way you will treat me, with some level of caution. No handshaking, no hugging, at least for now. So they are no different. They've been certified negative for now. We don't know whether they can be reinfected. So for now, treat them the way you treat every other person, with some level of caution and precaution. No unnecessary handshake. We are very social people, but no unnecessary, no handshakes. Stay at least a meter apart. When you want to talk very close to somebody, we know how the disease spread through respiratory droplets. Like he mentioned, the virus does not travel on its own. It uses people to travel. So it's through respiratory droplets. There are some things we do. People, if you go through Nigeria, our places in the evening, you see people arguing in their parlor. Buhari is a good man. No, Buhari is not a good man. Spits. Shh. That's why, no. Let's stop all of that. Because when people are arguing saliva everywhere and all of that, we should stop all of that for now.
All those shouting, all those strong talk.
Because from the droplets from the nose and mouth, the virus enters another person's nose or mouth. Sometimes, the virus is in somebody's hand. It touches the table or the wall, and that person touches it. That's how it.
So we have to be very, very careful.
And a basic face mask, basic hand washing can go a very long way. And one thing I thank God for is that the disease didn't start from here. It started from the West, started from China, UK, Italy, Germany, America, because we are learning from their lessons. So if it had entered our face me, I face you residence before we got our way of hand washing, if you go everywhere in Benin and you see people things to wash hands, just wash any soap, even if it's soda, just wash your hand. And it goes a long way. People wearing things. If you even go to the market now, you sneeze in the market, you may get beaten up. Because the awareness is high. It's just for us to keep up the tempo. And I think ITV and the other media are doing a very fantastic job. If we can keep up this pace. Yes, like he mentioned, as more people are tested, we'll get more positive cases. But that does not mean we are not winning the war yet. We just have to increase the pace or at least sustain this pace.
Okay. All right. We got a call last week that some persons are quite afraid of going to UBTH. I know you guys are from UBTH. So tell us something. What is new about UBTH? We know that some patients have been discharged from there, and just allay our fears.
Well, let's say here that first of all, in a pandemic situation like this, the hospital settings are usually more at risk because those who are coming in for other ailments outside the present pandemic will come. Those who have it will come. And then there are those who know probably they have all the features, all the symptoms. Now they try to conceal it. And then you also know that there are people who may not offer, because the truth is there's so much education on social media concerning this, the pandemic, the virus. Yeah. So a lot of persons now know that if you have cough, or you are sneezing, or you're having headache, or you're having fever, or you have traveled to a place with high infective rates and the rest of them, you are probably most likely to be suspected of having coronavirus. And so some have learned, because everybody, people are scared of being stigmatized.
That is one huge thing. Stigmatization will not allow people to come out. So
people now conceal it. I don't want to be labeled COVID-19 patient. So people call me to the hospitals. They hide some of these things, and you find out that the healthcare workers can only do the best they can. They are not magicians. It is the information received from the patient that they work with. So that so many people, it is not, where else would you find patients if not in the hospital? So that you had one or two persons who were positive in UBTH. That is not, it is when you find it in marketplaces and all that, that is where they are supposed to go to, because adequate provisions have been made for them to be catered for in UBTH. At least I'm aware of that. I know the UBTH management have done so much to take care of that. The beginning was slow. People were still in the dark. People were still trying to figure out, could this be true? Does this affect Africans? Does it affect black? The response was slow. But I can assure you that as of today, that the preparation is at top gear in UBTH and some other center, because the Nigerian Medical Association takes time out to review, as time goes on, each of these hospitals to see their level of preparedness. And I can tell you a lot has been put in place in that center. So nobody should be scared.
Dr. Eustace, we had the story that some private hospital owners, some doctors who do their private practice are agitating that they will also want to be involved in the treatment of coronavirus patients. Do you think we are ripe for that? Do they have the equipment? Do they have the technical or medical know-how to deal with this issue?
Well, it's a plus and minus. So here there are the pluses and the minuses. For a private practitioner, having a case of coronavirus in your hospital is here around there, because it may even drive some other patients the way our people currently think. Okay. They say, corona, they there or no good there. But what does it take to manage a patient with coronavirus? It's not really a big deal. Most of them have mild symptoms. So just a few of them come up with very severe symptoms. Very severe symptoms that may need extreme respiratory care, like a ventilator, and you may have to intubate the patient. So for most other patients, like the patients in UBTH, are doing very well. Like most other patients, you see the patients in Lagos, many of them have been discharged. Most of our patients just manage symptomatically and they go. Our private hospitals, a lot of them should be able to manage these cases.
But they will not do it for free like the government is doing, will they?
No, they shouldn't do it for free. No, they shouldn't do it for free. At the end of the day, the nurse working in the private hospital with the MD of the private hospital say, I'm doing this thing for free, so I will not pay you for this month. You work for free. And also putting, myself and somebody in UBTH were talking a few hours ago, just before I came in here, and he was telling me that he feels for the hospital management, not much is happening, but a lot is being spent. You know how much gloves are now? Do you know how much face masks are? That's the burden the private hospital is still going to experience. That's why, for opportunity costs, if I was in charge of at the helms of affairs, I'll leave it mostly to government centers for now.
Okay.
Maybe one or two very big private hospitals for economic reasons and for opportunity costs, because UBTH is able to cope, because she has a lot of shock as well as face masks have gone up. Any doctor seeing a patient now without a face mask has a mental problem. That's the truth. Face masks has gone up, gloves have gone up, hand sanitizer should be provided, soap and water. At times, even to have sustainable running water is a problem in this country, because you have to pump water. That means a borehole has to be there, light has to be there to pump the water. So those are basic. Then you need hand sanitizers, you need face masks, you need gloves, more than you needed before. So there's going to be a lot of burden on the private hospitals who want to take up this responsibility. A lot of burden the big hospitals like UBTH are taking and doing without complaint, because they are a big center. Then the personnel, because some of them may come up with varying complications. The personnel, a center like UBTH already has anesthetist who were not employed because of coronavirus. They've been on the payroll of the system. They have ENT surgeons who have been in the payroll. They have pulmonologists, respiratory physicians who are there, who have gotten all sorts of training and are ready. Some of these private hospitals, some of them have all of these, but many of them don't have the wherewithal. They may have to start making arrangements. So for now,
it should be a government hospital.
Let's limit it, but that does not mean some private hospitals can't. It's just the economic burden.
Especially the private hospital has been able to show that she can manage such cases. But again, that has to go through the necessary regulatory body. It's not enough to keep a patient who is COVID-19 positive in your care, and you say, after all, what we are doing is not so much for them. No, it goes beyond that.
Okay, so as we round off the program now, doctors, what's your advice to Edo people and Nigerians, and of course, those watching us from other countries?
Yeah, let me see here. Please, I want to appeal to the government of this country, government of Edo State, and all those who are in charge of policy making. Now, let's not politicize this pandemic. Let's not try to make gain out of this pandemic. People have died. People are dying. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, some may still die. So if we have to make some headway in properly containing and curtailing this pandemic, we must be dispassionate in all that we do. For instance, if you are providing the equipment for the healthcare professionals, for the frontliners to work, please do so. Let's not be there shouldn't be any form of disparity between what you say on paper and what is actually available.
Okay,
and let me say here this, that the Nigerian Medical Association will not hesitate to call out its members if they are not adequately protected.
Okay, doctors, thank you very much for. I'm sorry I cannot ask you what you have for Edo people because our time is fast spent. But we'll do this again definitely. All right, people. COVID-19 is real. You've heard everything the doctors said to me and to you. It's now left for you to do the needful so that you can be safe. We'll see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.